say you got some decent family income, you know, you're professional, you've got family income 300 grand plus maybe, you got the cash flow, but where do you do? What's a good mortgage strategy? I'm going to get into a couple of little controversial little points here. Like, for example, instead of investing in Kiwisaver, redirecting it towards your mortgage repayments, doing something similar like investment property versus mortgage repayments, and a couple of like age-old stuff that people have used. I'm going to really kind of talk about whether they really have any impact, any major impact, right? So let's get into those straight away, because I know you don't have a lot of time for this boring, dry topic. So first of all, would you put your Kiwisaver on pause year after year and redirect it towards your mortgage repayment? What does that look like? Now, I'm going to take 3% of around 300 grand family income and say that Kiwisaver after 10 years on a growth fund could be worth around 244 grand. If you just kept pausing that and redirected it towards your mortgage repayments, you would be only about 120 grand better off. This is all very speculative stuff. It's based on variables which could change, like interest rates and stuff. So it's important to sit down with a financial advisor, like a good one like ourselves, monline.co.nz, before you make any decisions. This is very general advice. It is supposed to be a little bit of entertainment as well, but just so we know, of course, this looks a lot better off because of the employer contributions as well. Because your boss is not going to give you 3% extra here towards your mortgage repayments, right? So let's park that. Let's look at investment property versus paying down debt faster. Holding an investment property, I'm going to go to the more of the kind of really kind of friendly cash flow ones here, right? Let's say you bought out a Rotorua or something and you were only contributing 10 to 20 grand towards it from your pocket every year to hold it, okay? This is like buying something at like 550 grand. So at the lower end, but good cash flow. What would it look like? First of all, if you just paid 10 grand extra roughly towards your home loan repayments of $1 million after 15 years, you would be roughly about 220 grand better off than if you kept to the minimum repayment. So extra repayments does have an impact. However, if you didn't do that and you just bought an investment property and paid towards just topping up, you know, on top of the rent to hold it, you'd actually be way better off. So 600 grand almost here compared to 200 grand here. I gotta give you some of the variables that could change though. So this is using Opus Partners' capital growth calculator. They are probably one of the better end of new build promoters out there. But in terms of the capital growth here, the 5%, I mean, speculative, that could change. Historical long-term averages does support that. Going into the future, I'm not sure. Lumpy maintenance costs means that it could be more than 10 grand a year to hold an investment property like this. This is assuming a 550 grand property, rents of close to 600 a week, you know, and interest rates being around 5%. Now, it's a bit less than that. So there could be lumpy maintenance costs that you have to put into this investment property, but at the same time, rents go up. So, you know, if you're looking at the next 15 years, halfway through though, I reckon the rent will start to might have gone up enough to actually look after a lot of the holding costs. This is assuming also that it stays interest only. So you get it 5 years interest only, you get another 5 years interest only. So this is assuming keeping it at interest only for over that term as well. But again, even if you half this capital gain, you're still, I reckon, better off than buying, than just redirecting towards your home loan repayments, right? Couple of other things that gets used a lot. Is it really worth it? Revolving credit as a cheque account. This is, now I used to be a big believer in this, right? I'd be one of those guys that would say, hey, this is an amazing thing to do. Yes, you should do this. But over time, I've realized something. If by using your home, part of your home loan as a main cheque account means that your average balances are, say, 10 to 15 grand less. So this is like, you know, having your money sitting in there, basically maybe offsetting your expenses to the credit card, getting the interest-free period, and then paying this off once. So basically keeping your home loan balance 15 grand lower, you would save roughly about, say, $750 a year, right? So again, it could be worth it, but again, that's over the entire year. So if this doesn't help you keep track of where everything's sitting, then for the sake of $70 a month, I mean, go with what works better. This is not going to be a game changer. In fact, it might be less than that $750 a year. If your average balance is more like 10 grand, then you're probably only looking at like a saving of about $500 a year. However, using your revolving credit as a savings account, now this looks a lot better, right? Because if you are, you're on the upper end of the earnings and you keep savings, you like to keep emergency saving of say 30 grand to 40 grand. Well, now on the home loan, you are saving roughly around $1,700.50, right? But let's compare apples with apples, because if you didn't use your main day-to-day, if you didn't use your revolving credit savings account, you probably are getting some savings, right? So after tax, maybe you're getting 1.5% return or whatever it is right now. So really, with a 4.5% home loan rate compared to 1.5%. So let's say you get 3% better in the revolving credit. So on 35 grand times 3%, you'd still be probably ahead of a savings account after tax return by about $1,000 a year. So again, not bad. That could pay for a plane ticket to somewhere as well, might help out in the holidays. So I think this has merit, using it as a savings account. I think the investment property thing has some merit. I think keeping the Kiwisaver going, of course, having your employer contribute, that helps. That of course is a no-brainer there. So hopefully that has been insightful and at least kind of fun to watch, hopefully. Although come on, you got to give me a break, right? It's a dry topic. What do you want me to do? I could start juggling or something, maybe put a wig on. But, I'm not at that stage yet. But, thanks for watching. Hamish at monline.co.nz.